Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're going to be doing a Q&A. I had done like a little poll on my Instagram, I think like last Thursday or Friday, asking everyone if they'd rather see it on Instagram stories or on a YouTube video. It was a pretty close tie, but the majority said YouTube video, which I'm happy about because that's kind of what I preferred as well. It's been a little bit and we're almost at 100,000 subscribers, which I honestly cannot believe, and I'm so grateful, so thank you for everybody who's here. And if you're already not subscribed, I don't really like to say it often, but I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe since we're so close. I will be doing a giveaway when I reach 100,000, so if you want to be a part of that, hit subscribe. So I got some questions from you all on Instagram and also on a post that I made on my community tab here on YouTube. So we'll start with those, and also while we are answering questions, I figured we would try out these hot rollers that I just got. I've never tried out hot rollers before, so we'll see how this goes, but I'm pretty excited. I can see they're heating up now, looking good. So I'm gonna try to get to as many questions as I can. I'm gonna also be like lumping together ones that are pretty much the same question, so if I skip over yours, I'm sorry. I'm just doing my best. So the first question is by A. Harrison. Who was your biggest style inspiration when you first started wearing vintage? And I think what got me into the 60s and 70s originally was the Beatles for sure. So probably like Pattie Boyd and Jane Asher. I remember being really in love with Jane Asher because I also had red hair at the time, but I first was really in love with like 50s style, and that was just when we were learning about like the 50s in history, and so we were looking at a lot of old photos, and I just loved like the elaborate hairstyles that the women would do, so I tried to do like pin curls and everything. It didn't really work out exactly how I wanted. My dad said it looked more like 70s Farrah Fawcett, which was not what I wanted to hear at the time, but now I love that, so. Okay, Marie says, would you consider starting your own vintage inspired label? Because like honestly no one is doing it like you. That is so sweet. Okay, thank you, Marie. Someday I would love to. That would be like a total dream come true. I guess I haven't really thought too much about that. Maybe down the road sometime, you know? You never know where life will take you. So I don't really know what to do with this. Is that right? I don't think so. We're gonna use these clips that they also gave me. Is that right? Anybody? No? I don't know. Lydia says, what are some of your favorite T-Rex and Beatles songs? T-Rex, off the top of my head, Mambo Sun is one of my absolute favorites. Anything off of Electric Warrior, anything off of Slider, really. Those are some of my favorite albums from him. And the Beatles, I just love all of their songs, so I don't know if I can really choose, but my favorite Beatles albums are Revolver and Rubber Soul. I hope this works. This looks pretty interesting. Okay, I Love the 60s says, what are your favorite current musicians? And do you mean like current day or just my favorites at the moment? I'm gonna go, I'll just give a little bit of both. So I love the Lemon Twigs. Any of like our friends around the area, I post about like our friends bands a lot. Uncle Sexy and the Nephews, obviously Andrew's Abley House I love. I love Stonefield, which is an all-female band based out of Australia. Super cool. I got to see them like a couple years ago when they came through Chicago. And I might butcher this, but Otto Bokeh Beaver, I think. I'm gonna just put their name down here because I probably didn't say it right, and I apologize for that. But I love them. They have a great like powerful punk sound. And then as far as just other musicians that I'm really into right now that aren't necessarily current but are my current favorites, I'm really into Raspberries right now, and Steve Miller Band as well. Also very into Witch, but that's been for a while, but still one of my current like top played for sure. Your favorite movies from the 60s or 70s, or movies that are set in that era. I don't watch a lot of movies, to be very, very honest with you. My friends know this, and yeah, they just know what to expect with any kind of pop culture references like that. But I have seen Daisies, which I love. So good, so good. A classic. I did watch Clockwork Orange recently too, and it was actually really disturbing. I don't like things that are like that. I usually like things that are a little more lighthearted for my personal preference, but it was beautifully done. And I'm glad that I did watch it because it is a classic. I also love Pirate Radio, which is set in that time, set in the 60s, like on one of the pirate radio boats where they were playing rock music off of. Highly suggest. I think it also has another name, The Boat That Rocked. I'm not sure which one's the UK and which one's the US name. What the heck? This looks wild. I hope that this works. It feels nice and warm on my face. That was from The T Word, and then Dylan's Mr. Jones says, would you like for the knee-highs to have eras with every new album? And that would be a pretty cool concept. I don't know if that's gonna happen just because the first one's already kind of a lot of different eras, if you were gonna classify them by eras. I think it's just a lot of different styles within this one. But you could definitely say that those styles were popular in like certain eras. So I love the 60s says, what's your favorite movie soundtrack? And again, I don't really watch a lot of movies, but I am obsessed with Phantom of the Opera soundtrack, even though that's, you know, originally a play, but I have it on my phone and I listen to it all the time. Definitely a jam. Mariana says, how to deal with weird stares when you start dressing differently. I love you too. I honestly try to just like laugh at it when it happens because it's kind of just funny seeing how people can't control themselves or don't feel the need to. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't stare at somebody even if they were dressing like really differently than I've ever seen before. Or maybe they don't even like mean it in a bad way, they're just like really curious, so I also try to think of it like that. Or maybe they like it, because if I do stare at somebody, it's usually because I'm like, wow, like impressed and I want to know more about that person. Oh, this one's really sweet. Riley said, do you ever think about or realize how much we love you? And I think about it every day. I try to sit down every night and just remember the things I'm grateful for before going to bed. And you all are on the top of the list for sure. Like, it's just amazing to be able to connect with so many people from around the world and share interests, have this little community over here where we all get to talk to each other, and it's overall a very positive place, and I'm just really proud to get to, I don't know, share this life with you, and even from a distance. It's really cool. It is a very, very special thing. I've been thinking about cutting my hair again. This is like a side note. I just want your opinion because I did a poll on my Instagram and so many people said to cut bangs back, and I was like, okay, the people have spoken. Everybody wants the forehead to be back under bangs, which is fine by me because I do kind of miss them. I also kind of like having no bangs because there's so many different styles that I can do, but I do kind of miss the bangs sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, I'm ready to cut them, like getting my scissors, but I know that I should just wait for my haircut. I've been talking to my friend who cuts my hair about, but I haven't decided what I'm gonna do. Either just get like face framing layers, kind of going with what I already have, kind of like Liv Tyler inspired is what I'm thinking, which is very much just like what I have now, but she'll make it look a little neater, I guess. And or I've really, really been loving Christina Applegate's hair in the 80s. I know, very different than my normal 60s, but it could definitely be styled 60s if I didn't want like an 80s kind of teased hairdo. But I also feel like it looks like late 70s kind of, you know, style. It could pass as. It's just like with the bangs that are down and she has the rest parted to the side, which I've heard is very controversial. I've heard that side parts are very hated now for some reason. I still like your side part if you want to do it. I'm just saying you don't have to go with trends. But you didn't need to hear it from me, but just in case you did. So yeah, I love that, and I think that it could be easily like just not teased and parted in the middle if I wanted to go more 60s, but I think it looks really cool, and so that's a thought. Alright, back to the questions now. Sarah says, anything you dislike or won't wear with 70s style? I'm sure there's things that I feel like I don't look very good in, but overall I don't really, nothing's coming to mind so much. I don't know, I don't like neon colors overall, so it doesn't matter if it's 70s or whatever era. I'm not really a neon kind of a gal. I just like different things. I want to be dazzled and shocked and razzled. Okay, Caitlin says, are you still planning on writing that groupie book? Has it evolved into something else? I would love to read all about your cool experiences. Thank you, Caitlin. So, yeah, I had originally kind of thought, and I don't know if it was ever going to be so much of a groupie book as just like my adventures, because I do not have the Pamela DeBar life. I don't know if anybody really does anymore these days, especially with COVID, you know, but I do definitely still want to write like a kind of little life adventure story someday, even if it was just for me, which I kind of am doing with all of my journals in a way. And that's how it'll be more like Pamela DeBar's book as well, where it'll be like journal entries and also just very music based. But I wouldn't say groupie book. Not that there's anything wrong with groupie book. Okay, Rain says, what is your favorite album of all time? Oh gosh, I don't know if I can even choose. What is your favorite vintage TV show of all time? Again, with the TV, I don't watch a lot of things. I find like my favorite things and I watch them a million times over again. So 60s TV show, I don't know if I've even ever seen a 60s TV show. Yeah, I can't think of anything. Maybe if I had like a list of them, I'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen a couple episodes of that. I really want to see I Dream of Jeannie, but I haven't. And my favorite album of all time, it's so hard. I don't know. My favorite one to listen to like all the way through as a full album is Love It to Death. Love It to Death by Alice Cooper. So I'd maybe go with that. And that one for me is like I need it to be a vinyl experience. Like that is a full listening experience when I'm listening to that album. When did you start dressing vintage? And what inspired you and the other members of Knee Highs to start a band? So I started dressing vintage, like trying to emulate a 60s style. Not that I had like a full vintage wardrobe or anything. Was the beginning, like summer going into my sophomore year of high school. So I was 15. What inspired me and the other Knee Highs to start a band? So I was talking to Alice about it for a long time, and we were kind of joking back and forth, and then I had started picking up the bass, and we just started kind of talking about that, and we were just pretty much like, why don't we actually do it? Like, why don't we get together, start practicing? She had a guitar that she would fiddle around with sometimes too, so yeah, we just decided to try and hold each other accountable to it. And then I made a post on Instagram, and my other friends, Ash and Chris, replied to that, and yeah, we pretty much had a band. It was just something that was in the back of all of our minds. We all really love music and love like going to shows and being a part of it, and I think that, you know, the ultimate dream was just to be on the stage as well, and now here we are. Okay, I'm gonna take out these top ones because what's left are these itty bitty ones, and I don't want to use that for the very ends of my hair. Okay, Juliana says, hey Devyn, not so much a question, but can you share an interesting antique you've recently come across and tell us the story behind it? I adore listening to the tales around everyone's vintage finds. trying to think what I've found recently. What have I found recently? Oh, well, no, this isn't really antique. I don't know if I've shown this little purse yet, but I got this in Wisconsin. This is from the 20s, and I thought I got it for a really freaking good steal because it was only $35, and everywhere else I've seen anything like this, they're like $100+. He said that it needs to be cleaned or polished a little bit, but I honestly do not care. And I've heard a lot that people don't want them to be necessarily totally cleaned up because then it takes away like all of the actual like real aging, which is part of the value. So I'm really excited to use this for something. It reminds me a lot of like medieval kind of style with the chainmail, and it's very gothic with like the point that it comes down to. I also love that the handle is a little bit bigger chains. The moment of truth. Hey, that worked out pretty nicely. Iva S says, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and how do you see your style evolving if you have an idea of it already? I'm not sure where I see myself in 5 years. Hopefully doing more music is what I'd like to be doing. Hopefully doing some traveling, and I don't know, it'd be cool to be living somewhere else, like in Europe or something. I would love to live in the Netherlands someday, so I'm just putting that out there. And then how do I see my style evolving? I really have got no idea. Hopefully just more curated to like my true self and what makes me feel good. It's kind of how I try to eliminate things. Like, what do I feel good in? What do I just wear and it's like, like I don't really like myself in this, but I like the piece, so I'll wear it. So hopefully just more of that. Alright, Maizu Lee, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Beautiful name. What does your dream home look like, retro, vintage, or modern? I would love to get a historic home, like a Victorian style home, with like cool colors painted on the outside, or even if I had to paint it up myself, I'd love to do that. And I feel like on the inside I just want to make it like my whole other world. I'd go really hard here if I wasn't hoping to be moving out someday. I just want like it to be a totally different world when you walk in there, so that's what it looks like mostly. Heather S says, any wedding updates? And not really, because nothing's really happening too much as far as COVID, you know, like I don't see anything happening too much in the right direction to be having a big party like that. Even though we won't have a huge wedding, it's definitely still a big gathering, you know? So we're just kind of playing it by ear, chilling. Thoughts about modern fashion? I really like the direction that it's going. Like, I don't know. I just see a lot of people wearing modern clothes, and I think that it looks really cool. I feel like there's a lot of trends that are calling back to like the 90s and the 2000s, which I think is fun. And that was from Show Me. Karen Goodson says, any advice for a mature lady? Sometimes feel 60s, 70s fashion is too young for me, 47 years. Though I love the style. I definitely don't think so. I don't think it would look too young at all. I feel like I've seen a lot of 60s and 70s coming back into like more high fashion as well, and so like on runways and stuff that I've been watching, I see a lot of women around that age wearing like 60s and 70s stuff, and I think it looks really tasteful, and it just kind of looks timeless and very classic. I feel like I don't want to put any rules on anybody. I say wear what you want and you're gonna look amazing. Just pull it off with confidence and grace, and I believe in you. Cherie says, if you could spend the day with any of your style icons, who would it be and why? Oh man, such a huge fan. That's so sweet. Thank you, Shay. I would love to share a day with Betty Davis, just because she like went out of the spotlight for a long time and was just kind of gone. I feel like that on top of her style and her entire career is very cool, and I would want to know like what made her just go out and why did she do it and what was she doing for those days, and I would just love to hear about that side of her story. Ooh, Miss Christine of the GTOs for sure, for sure. And Cher as well, because it would just be amazing to hang out with Cher. Elena says, are you and Andrew still moving, and what are your plans? And that I love you, and tell Andrew I said hi. Will do. We definitely would love to be moving. COVID kind of put a halt to that since he can't really work now. So yeah, we're just trying to get by, you know, but we would love, absolutely love to move out. If you hear a knock, by the way, it's because there's like this weird knocking that keeps going on in like the ceiling of our bathroom. We have no idea what it is. It woke us up in the middle of the night because we were like, is somebody like knocking on our windows? It really freaked us out. Well, freaked him out because honestly I didn't wake up. But he woke me up, and then I kept waking up every time I heard it. So yeah, we would love to move out. Not that this house hasn't been great for the time being, but it definitely has some issues. I mean, it's like the cheapest you can get around here, so there's that knocking again. It makes sense, but I know we're both ready to just go to a new place for sure. What is inspiring you or motivating you most these days? Love from Ireland. Hello, Robin. Love to Ireland. It was just St. Patrick's Day yesterday, so happy belated. Let's see. What inspires me most? Definitely, I think always music and nature, and now that it's getting a little bit warmer, I'm feeling really inspired because the sun is out, we can go outside again, and yeah, feeling good. But always music. Music is just a constant source of inspiration for me. Where or how do you find inspiration for your makeup outfit looks? I try to just go off of what I'm feeling, and then if I'm gonna do makeup, it's usually just inspired off of what the outfit is. So, but overall, I also love looking at old photos. Live concerts are a big source of inspiration for me because I love seeing people's stage wear and just kind of over-the-top looks. So Freya C says, what are good clothing items for just starting out for your 60s and 70s inspired closet? I would say some good basic things that you could really find anywhere would be like a turtleneck. Turtlenecks are very 60s, and you can dress it up, dress it down. I also am kind of biased because turtlenecks are one of my favorite things to wear. They're so cozy. And then flared jeans, which I feel like flared jeans are very in now as well. Or bell bottoms if you can find them. I think my first pair of bell bottoms that I ever got were from H&M back in like 2012, so you know, keep an eye out. I don't really shop at H&M now personally, but I know some people don't really have the choice. So yeah, you know, you can really find it anywhere. Also, mini skirts are great, and with mini skirts you can get tights, which you can find at like Target or anywhere online pretty much. Vests are also really good. They were popular in the 60s and 70s, like even if it's not like a fringy one or like a colorful kind of painted up thing. I have a plain red one that just comes down in buttons that's from the 70s, but you could find those a lot at thrift stores, I feel like. And I think vests are coming back in style, so keep your eyes peeled for those. Also mini dresses, baby doll dresses, shift dresses, anything with like a balloon sleeve. Also 70s did like a prairie revival, which is also coming back, and I've seen in a lot of places. So like high necklines with ruffly collars and billowing sleeves. All of that would be great and would be super versatile so that you could wear with like a lot of things. Jessie F says, what do you think of the Sarah Everard situation in the UK? And I think it's terrifying. As women, we really do like live in this constant state of just kind of, you know, being on the lookout. You have to be aware in all these little things that men would not think of, and they don't have to think of, but are little precautions that are just ingrained into our everyday lives to stay safe, like doing everyday mundane things. And I don't know, I don't really have the answer, but something needs to be done. Any advice on starting a band from scratch? Bug Love Bone. Probably just like trying to find people that are serious and are on the same page as far as like sound-wise goes, which is not an easy thing to do, but I think that also you can kind of make compromises, and you have to when you're working with other people, so that everybody's happy. But I think it's just finding like the people who are enough on the same page and you're both willing to make compromises and you can work well together with them is very important as well, because yeah, there's a lot of vulnerability that goes into making music, I feel like. What's your big three in astrology? I am a Sagittarius sun, a Capricorn moon, and a Libra rising. Lexi says this is very random, but do you listen to Greta Van Fleet? And with Peace and Love, I do not listen to Greta Van Fleet. I'm sorry. Lydia says, also, do you like Kate Bush? I haven't listened to a ton, but I do enjoy Kate Bush. McKenna says hello, also says, anything new planned for the knee highs? And we have a lot planned. We're definitely shooting a music video for our recent song release. And we're also just working on a bunch of new songs as well that will be released on the album. Have you ever accidentally ruined a vintage clothing item? I almost thought that I did the other day when I was cooking dinner. I was cutting up pickled beets, which if anybody knows pickled beets, you know that they are very purpley red and the juice is very wanting to stain everything, and the beet rolled off of my fork and onto my vintage t-shirt that I was wearing, and also onto my vintage white and blue gingham pants that I was wearing. Luckily, I flung my clothes off so fast and shoved them under cold water that I did not ruin them, but it was a very close call, and I was about to like sit in tears because those were two of like my favorite items, and yeah, I was for sure that they were, you know, in pretty rough shape. I probably would have still worn them. I would have maybe put a patch over the stain on the pants, and the shirt, I don't know what I would have done. I might have just kept it as is and whatever. But yeah, I don't know if I've ever ruined anything. I've definitely like been wearing a dress and done this, or a top, and then it all rips out right here. I feel like that's a classic place for things to rip for vintage clothes, but I usually just sew that back up. I was also at this show one time and it just started downpouring, and it was outside obviously, and the stage was kind of like at the bottom of this hill, and I was standing at the front of the stage and I was dancing, and before I knew it I was standing in water that was like up to my ankles, and I was wearing suede vintage Mary Janes, which I was like, well, there goes these shoes, but they dried really fine and I still wore them for a long time afterwards, up until I think last summer when like the little thing that holds the laces snapped off. But it wasn't the rain, so. Okay, Roderick said, do you want to know Mexico? I would love to visit Mexico, like for a longer period of time. I was able to go a little bit, not last summer, which last summer I almost just like skip over it in my mind. I don't even, you know, remember that it happened, but I think the summer before that, before COVID, anyways, one summer I went to Mexico for a couple of days and it was lovely and beautiful. I would love to go for longer. Experiencing Charlie Harrison says, what's something you're proud of yourself for? I'm proud of myself for following my heart, which I try to do every single day. And they also say, what are some bands that you'd like to collaborate with? Oh my gosh. Well, we definitely want to go on a Japanese tour that's like on our manifestation board for the band. So we'd love to go there, and so I think that we were talking that if we had our choice when we were over there, we'd love to hook up with Otoboke Beaver, who I was talking about earlier. I'd love to do a tour sometime with Abley House, since Andrew's in Abley House. We talked about if we ever had the chance doing live shows like together, touring together. That would be really cool. Favorite thing you've created? Oh my gosh, hey Chris. Chris Luck of the Knee Highs, of course. Let's see here. Favorite thing I've created? I think it's gotta be that two-piece set, just because that, like, that took so much of my time and blood, sweat, and tears went into that thing. I am not joking, but very happy about it. I love it so much. I forgot my vest at my parents' house, so I'm without it at this moment, and I miss it every day, so hopefully I get it back soon. Wow, I did not expect this to be so... I haven't done my hair in a while. I always kind of forget about doing my hair, or I'm just like too tired after spending Lord knows how long on my makeup. Alright, Cosmic Alice, who are your favorite vintage inspirations at the moment? I just made a video on Marsha Hunt because I'm super duper inspired by her style. I'm always very inspired by Edie Sedgwick because I love her kind of grungy, big makeup look with then these more like feminine kind of touches. Debbie Harry also, because I love her kind of same thing where she takes more feminine pieces and makes it more punk and kind of in a grunge style. Arts by Annabelle says, how do you protect your energy? Trying more to work on setting boundaries, which I've noticed is very helpful for protecting your energy. Let's see, what else? I also try to take time for like something that I want to do that's not work or being productive, just because I realize how draining it is when I'm trying to be productive all the time or just go all the time, which I sometimes have a hard time shutting off. Let's see. Miss Dynamite says, what's your favorite season to dress for? Do you have a favorite outfit or piece right now? Love you, and I love you too. I love all seasons. Like, by the time each season's done, I'm kind of ready for the next one because I just love all the different options, but I do really like fall and spring weather because you can layer, but you're not like freezing or you're not like sweating balls like in the summertime. I am a northern girl at heart, so the heat I have a hard time with, but I'm also always cold, so, you know. Do I have a favorite outfit or piece right now? Honestly, one of my favorite things right now is this dress that you gave me. I have it hanging up on my curtain rod right here. Let me just show you, because Ari sent me this dress and it is absolutely beautiful. It's an antique piece too. It's so pretty! It's like semi-sheer. These little ruffles along the bottom. It like hits just above my ankles. It's so cute. And favorite outfits go day to day. I feel like I'll love one outfit one day and then the next day I'm like, I don't even know why I wore that, and you know. Presley says, who are some of the people that influence you musically and fashion-wise? Oh, I forgot to say Alice Cooper in my fashion inspirations, but all of the Alice Cooper group, really. So he inspires me and they inspire me musically and fashionably. Susie Quattro as well, also Blondie, Buffy St. Marie. Nico says, can you make a giveaway bundle? And I will be doing a couple giveaways I'm approaching. I will be giving away a bundle for sure when I hit 5,000 followers on my styling page on Instagram. So if you have an Instagram, you should go follow that page, and we'll be doing a giveaway soon. It's Modern Muses Styling. Song Monkey Troy says, Steve Marriott, Plant, or Adultery? I'm gonna have to go with Steve Marriott. Next would be Adultery, last would be Plant. Let's see. Do you plan on learning more instruments? If so, what would you want to learn? And I would love to like actually learn how to play my penny whistle that I got. I got a couple of those recently and I just kind of have been messing around with them. I haven't taken the time to like learn. I'd also love to learn guitar just because I feel like that would be helpful. Andrew?
Hello.
What is that thing called that you like, theremin?
Oh. You're welcome.
I'd also love to learn how to play the theremin, which would be really sick. Describe your style in 3 words. Eclectic, kooky, pirate. That's my goal anyways. Let's see, that was Here She Comes. Did you ever have any other fashion style phases before you got into retro style? I kind of did like a style evolution. I don't remember how far I went back necessarily, but I did kind of try to dress like a little 50s inspired, more rockabilly than like true 50s. I'd say kind of like right before I found 60s style. I was also working at like a vintage style diner where we had to wear like poodle skirts and we listened to old records on the jukebox all day. So that was a big influence for me. Sweet Annabelle 17 says some advice you have for someone trying to dress vintage. And I would say take your time, kind of just like look at references, either photos or videos or movies or TV shows or whatever, and just kind of make note of things that you like and what kind of creates that outfit, so that when you're going out you can kind of either go to your closet and see, oh, I already have something like this that can kind of give out the same vibe, and then if you do have to go shopping, or when you do go shopping, you can also kind of know what to look for. And also just have fun, experiment. You don't know unless you try, so try it out if you can. And just have fun with it. It's not supposed to be a pressure or anything like that you have to have all these items right away or whatever. Like, just liking vintage, and even if you don't want to dress vintage, you're still part of the quote-unquote vintage community, which is just like a huge group of anybody who likes vintage throughout the world. Max Puppo says, can Clementine be my therapist? If you guys don't know, Clementine is this wild bunny that comes to my house every day. We feed her, we love her, she's hopped on into the house a couple of times, and she's wise beyond her years, so absolutely, she is taking appointments now, so sign up. Yesterday's Gabriella says favorite things to make / write poems about. I read that backwards, but same difference. Love your style and vibes so much. Thank you, Gabriella. My favorite things usually, and I don't know if it's like my favorite thing, because I don't usually like sit down and I don't know, I usually just write about my feelings. Like, I don't think, okay, this is a topic that I'm going to write about. It's whatever is just like on my mind and like sitting either heavy or just making me inspired. I usually have to write it down, or I'm going to, I don't know, it's not good to keep it bottled up. Funniest story about Clementine, really funny when Andrew sent me a video of her coming in the house, like fully for the first time and hopping around the front room, and she saw herself in the mirror and she just stopped and was like staring at herself for the longest time, and then she like hopped up onto the little kind of box that the mirror sits on, and so she's like right up next to the mirror and kicks off all of my sunglasses getting up there. That was really funny. Or Clementine's, okay, I'm just gonna tell the story because I don't want to ruin it. So I was sitting outside and I was writing. I'm just kind of like in my own world, not really paying attention to what's going on around me. And all of a sudden I just hear this kind of like crunching of like the ground and the leaves that are there. And I just think that it's Clementine because she always scares me. Like, I'll be sitting and just kind of like meditating and I'll have my eyes closed, and again I'll be in my own little world, and I'll just hear this kind of like noise and feel this presence around me, and I look and it's Clementine, and it always scares me. And so again, this time I just think it's Clementine, and I try not to get too startled because I heard her coming, or so I thought, because I turn around and see a giant rat scurrying behind me. It was not Clementine. The Chicken Patty Stealer, love your name. Any advice for getting into drums / instrument? I know you don't play the drums, but stuff you've seen / heard. I suggest you ask Chris Luck that. But just for instruments in general, I'd say, like, as somebody who just started pretty recently, like, starting is definitely the hardest part. and it's frustrating. Even just starting a new song is frustrating, and you feel like you're back at square one sometimes. But patience is key. Repetition is key also, so both of those things. JJ.super says, once restrictions are lesser, would you ever do some sort of meetup? And yes, I have missed doing them so much. When I went to LA before, I did a meetup and it was super fun. There were so many cool people that showed up, and I usually try to just kind of hook up with other creatives that are in the area whenever I go somewhere, because I love hooking up with people and doing some work, creating some magic, or just hanging out. So absolutely. Are you talking about Chicago too? Because I've never done one in Chicago, but I would love to. The Cosmic Hippie says, what's the first thing you plan on doing once COVID restrictions are lifted? And I plan on going somewhere. I don't know where. And going out somewhere and hugging so many people. And I'm not much of like a normal like huggy kind of a person to people that I don't know, but I feel like everybody's gonna get hugs, everybody's getting face kisses. It's just gonna happen. Marine Jean says, what is a clothing item that you wish to own one day? Thank you, Marine, you are awesome too. Let's see, I don't know, I have these boots saved on Etsy that I would really love. I would love to have these Jerry Edward boots someday. These are like a dream of mine, but I'm also just thinking about trying to find some black ones and painting them myself until I can afford it. But it looks like it's not just painted, it's like actual leather pieces, so they're really nice. I love them so much. Alright. Hip Death Empress says, how's your mental health been? On and off, but mostly good. Mostly a lot better than I feel like a couple years ago. So now it's just kind of like, you know, normal up days and down days, but nothing where it's like a deep rut of rough, you know? Which for a while it was pretty rough. Even last summer I feel like it was pretty rough, but I'm feeling pretty good overall. Thank you for asking, by the way. Taylor.Hallett13 said, do you ever see yourself dressing mod again, or do you think this new style will last? I don't think that I ever really truly dressed fully like mod. I definitely took more inspiration from like mid kind of 60s, but I feel like now I'm just kind of knowing my own personal taste more versus like trying to dress to a specific role. Like before I was more figuring out the things that I like and don't like, whereas now I kind of know, and I know more like the color schemes that I like and everything, and also just over time being able to get more of the pieces that I actually have always wanted versus just like getting what I could get, which was what I did for a long time, and it was totally great and I loved it still. But I don't think so. I think I'll just keep changing, and maybe I'll go back to having like more of a mod vibe, but I don't know. Well, it all just depends on what I feel like. Could you do a video like the one with the jeans and shirt but with skirts? That would be a good idea. I need to do another kind of fun video like that. What's the worst thing about being known / famous on social media? I definitely laugh at famous, but that is from Linnea Maki. Probably just having people make assumptions about you that don't really know you, or having some people just randomly hate you for no reason and then talking crap about you and making up stuff. But overall, that was only like maybe 2 scenarios, and it was just really weird because I feel like overall up until that one happened last summer, and it was just like a total shock because I'd never had anything like that happen to me on here, or ever in my life. So it was just jarring and kind of saddening because I felt like this was such a safe place, and then it just made me feel weird about being on here, and it almost made me not want to for a while. So that was definitely the worst thing, but I'm trying not to care as much about what other people say. I don't really care. Like, if you don't like me, it's fine. Or or if people like laugh at my style or whatever, it's fine. But it was more of like the things where people were going after my character and like just saying things about me that were not true at all, so that was hurtful. But otherwise, it's an absolutely amazing experience. I feel so grateful to have this platform, to have met the people that I have. All of my best friends that I know are from like being on social media and being able to connect with people, because I'm a little bit more of like a shy person in person. So yeah, I don't know how making friends would have gone had I not been able to connect with people over the internet. Ooh, Megan Deggs says, can you film a wardrobe tour, please? And that would be really fun. I wish that I had like a better setup, because it's kind of scattered all over the place. We just live in a really small house, and the bedroom doesn't have closets, but yeah, maybe I will. I just put out my summer stuff again. So yeah, that'd be kind of fun. I think the last tour I did though was a summer one. So yeah, I should have really gotten fall and winter, but whatever. Yo, Mariah says, where do you get your clothes? And kind of all over the place. I've really been enjoying eBay. That's where I picked up this bootleg GTO shirt. It says, beware, Mad Tiger on the strip, and I love it so much. So eBay's been a big one. Otherwise, like other secondhand kind of platforms, or like thrift stores or antique stores, or vintage stores too. I don't really go to vintage stores a ton, but it is always fun because it's like such a curated place to walk into. Freddie Laser says, is Clementine a wild rabbit? She is. Weeds L6T says, do you smoke weed? Does a bear shit in the woods? G Ortiz says, so you still consider yourself vintage as in the way you dress? Yes, I do, definitely. I still dress vintage. There are so many styles within like the vintage category, like between all of the decades, and even within like one decade. Even within the 60s, like there's so many different styles. Even within the 70s, there's so many different styles. So I encourage everybody to explore and look for those different kind of styles. Plus, not everybody dressed up every day. This is still vintage. I would say this is more like late 70s, early 80s what I'm wearing today. But for reference, it's this tee, which I'm very sure is 70s. These like high-waisted black pants. And funny, they are not flares. They're just like a skinny jean. And I have them tucked into these red cowgirl boots. I also got these off of eBay too. The person who I bought them from ended up being the mom of somebody who follows me as well, so if you're watching this, hello, love the boots by the way. The fifth daughter says, have you always felt comfortable / confident to dress how you want, or did you have to work on it? Tips? I definitely had to work on it, and I mean, it's still kind of like, some days you feel good, some days you don't feel good, some days you feel like unstoppable, some days you're like a little more timid, and I think it's totally okay to have those days. Whenever I do feel timid though, I'm just kind of like, why do I care what these people think? And then I stop and think, like, does it affect my actual well-being, what these people think of me? Like, is it my boss? Okay, no, because I'm my own boss, luckily. Very grateful for that. But I mean, when I was working at an office, I was a secretary, I did have to think about that, and I mean, my work didn't care that I dressed like 60s inspired as long as it was like work appropriate. So, you know, if they just think that it's like a little weird, I don't really care. I am a little weird, so that's fine. I think pushing yourself a little bit every day and just reminding yourself that it's okay and doing little things to like show love to yourself, you'll kind of build up that confidence and feel more at ease as time goes on with it. You don't have to like jump in fully right away. You can just add like little pieces, little touches, and before you know it, I think you'll feel totally comfortable. Albane RSS L says, when do you start making amazing makeup like you do? Love from France. Love to you. I started getting a little interested in makeup more when I started getting into vintage style, because it just opened up a whole new world of what makeup could be, which was really fun in my opinion. And yeah, now I'm trying to just even go more creative, like not necessarily recreating 60s looks or I don't know, being confined to anything. So I think that helped me kind of open up to my own ideas. Mary72345 says, how do you do laundry? I know vintage clothes can be delicate or have specific care instructions. With things like polyester, luckily that can take like a pretty good beating, so I honestly just throw it in the washer machine, which I don't know, nobody hate me for that, but I do. If it's just like polyester or some kind of a synthetic material, I'll throw it in. A lot of times with vintage, I won't dry it, I'll just hang it up to dry. If it's a really delicate thing, I'll hand wash it, but if it says dry clean only, I'm not messing with that. So yeah. Between a rock and a hard pan says, how do you deal with feelings of inadequacy / comparing yourself to other creators? And I mean, in an era where like you're always on social media and people are always posting things, I feel like it's very natural to end up comparing yourself to people. And when I do that, I realize that it just kind of like puts me in a bad mood overall. So I try to shut it down. I try to just like get off social media for a while, maybe do something like playing music, because you can't really think of anything besides what you're doing when you're playing, I've noticed personally. So just kind of like doing something that I love, I'll try to do, or just getting off social media. Also just remembering that other people's success does not take away from your own is a big thing. Just know that everybody's on their own journey and are at their own pace. So Cami BB0 says, how do I shift into a vintage clothing with a little budget? And I definitely had like no budget as well when I was starting off. So I remember when we went school shopping, I maybe got like a couple items new for school, but when I went, I made sure to be looking for items that seemed 60s inspired for me. So I remember I got like these dark green kind of cigarette pants, and then I got like this blue mini skirt with these little pockets at the front. Turtleneck I already had, luckily. And then I just did some DIY stuff. Like I couldn't afford actual saddle shoes, so they sold like white little kind of Keds style, but not Keds, at Walmart. And I remember getting a pair of those and a black Sharpie and just making them look like saddle shoes myself, and I wore those to death. And just making sure that when you are getting something, if you can get like something that's more neutral or more versatile, I think is very helpful and a good thing to keep in mind as well, because then you can just wear it with more outfits. And accessories are a great way to kind of add like a vintage touch to things. I loved scarves. If you are into making things, you could make your own like tie-on Peter Pan collar. I've seen these where it's like a piece of fabric that's cut out to look like a collar, obviously, and then it's got like two ties sewn onto either end here, and you can tie it together, and then you have a little Peter Pan collar with a bow right here. So there's a lot of little things that you can do at home, but I think just taking your time and enjoying the journey is a big thing, because there's no rush, and there's no like quota of, you know, things you have to check off to have vintage style. Like it's even as simple as a jeans and t-shirt. Shoshin Bird says, how do you play bass with such long, beautiful by the way, thank you, nails? Love ya. I actually get this question a lot, and it's so funny because when I first like was thinking about playing something, I was mainly like, the big no for me was because I was afraid that I was gonna have to have short nails all the time, and I've always just hated the feeling of short nails. Like something about it really freaks me out. I don't know, I cannot stand the feeling of my fingertips like on things whenever I have a nail that breaks. Like this one's pretty short. It is like sensitive little fingertips I do not like. I'm the same way with like if a nail breaks off, I need to file it right away because I don't like the jagged feeling. So for a long time I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this because I would have to cut my nails. But the great thing about bass is you are pressing one string at a time, so you don't really have to use your fingertips as much. You just kind of use like the pads of your fingers, so my nails don't really get in the way at all. The only ones that I have issues with are these two because I pluck with them. So usually these two will snap off at practices. When I'm playing at home by myself, I just use them more as like picks, and it's not an issue, but I've noticed that when we play as a full band and we're kind of jamming, I'm going a little harder and really plucking, and my nails usually end up just like being demolished by the end of practice. So all of them look pretty good usually except for these two. Amanda Telfler says, are there any artists or genres you listen to that shocks people that you like them? I don't know. I try not to say that I don't like a certain genre like altogether, because I'd like to say that I can find a little something that I like from everything. That shocks people? I don't know. I do really like that kind of like dad rock, I guess you would say, that is played on like classic rock radio stations, just because that's what I grew up listening to with my dad playing that stuff all the time. My dad graduated in '91, so the kind of music from around that time. And then also my mom graduated in '86, so music from around those kind of time is what I like that might surprise people. Yuji says, do fans ever spot you on the street, or do strangers comment on your style? Love you, and love you too. I've been spotted a couple times out in Chicago, like at bars and stuff. It's always really fun and cool. It's happened in LA too, and it's always really cool. It's super fun, and I don't know, it's just kind of surreal, but it's awesome that I kind of have like this big family all over the place. Any tips to dress 70s without being mistaken for 90s? I get that a lot for some reason. LOL, says Corlin. Maybe like pay attention to color schemes is a big thing that I could think of, because I also get a lot of like 90s does 70s pieces, and I feel like styling them right, you can make it look more 70s. I think color palette is a big thing. Also, maybe not going too many things that are like 90s does 70s. Like little glasses. I can't really think of too many examples. I just usually try to pair my like 90s does 70s pieces with other more like solidly vintage looking pieces. Garden Variety Megan says, thoughts on feminism, love feminism, need feminism, wants more feminism. Oh, I love this question. I don't know if I know the answer. Tyler Maud says, tell us about one album that is you. What album would we listen to in order to know you as a person? That's so hard. I don't know. I feel like if I say Love It to Death, that's like a scary answer. For a while I would have said Rubber Soul, but I don't know if that exactly is true anymore. I feel like if I say Crazy World of Arthur Brown, that's also a scary answer. Let's see. Maybe Nashville Skyline, Bob Dylan? Ingvild Nordfond, sorry if I butchered that. What are your best tips for running an online business like yours? Kind of finding like your own little schedule, just because being your own kind of boss is sometimes hard to like juggle everything, so just kind of finding like a rhythm. I wouldn't say that I have a set schedule, but I kind of have like a little rhythm of things. Also like spreading out how you make money, just because putting all your eggs in one basket is kind of dangerous in my personal opinion, and I've noticed that it doesn't always quite work. Like having multiple ways to make money has always been something that I need and has been very beneficial for me. Also just having something that you can fall back on, like either like freelancing jobs. For a long time, Andrew and I would do painting jobs for an office building, and we'd like go at night and like stay until like 3 in the morning doing painting jobs, and I mean, it wasn't like the best thing, but it definitely made money. So having things that you can fall back on. I went back to waitressing for a while, and I know that's something that I could always do again. And then Benji Davies says, when did you become a hippie? And I do not consider myself to be a hippie. Not that I have anything against hippies, I just have never thought of myself really as a hippie. I'm just me. I'm just living life, loving, feeling good, feeling groovy. Haley says favorite crystal, also your big three. I already said the big three, but again, it's Sagittarius, Sun, Capricorn, Moon, Libra rising. My favorite crystal is probably, I don't know, for a long time it was Tiger's Eye, which still is definitely one of my favorites. I also love black onyx and bloodstone. NYC xoxo says favorite food. I like soups, like any kind of soup. I'm really in love with this Hungarian mushroom soup that my friend Courtney made for me. She's made it twice for me now, and then I made it for my family as well, and it's delicious. It's unlike anything I've ever had before, and I kind of feel like I need to get the ingredients for it and make it tonight now. Also from NYCG, what do you do when you don't have inspiration? And usually I don't do anything. I just like go into work mode and just kind of like shut off the creative stuff for a little bit, because I try not to force anything. So I'll just do stuff that I don't necessarily have to be super inspired or I guess creative, like juices flowing mindset to do. Because sometimes you just need like a break, you know? If you'd get a pet, what kind of animal would it be? I would love to either get a snake, but I don't want to feed it rats and like rodents or even bugs, I've decided, so I don't know if that'd be a good thing. Like in theory I like the idea of it, but feeding time would be sad. So like a bunny would be cool, or I just love dogs, so I'd love to get a dog sometime that I have space in a house and like a nice yard that the dog could enjoy. What's your MBTI? Is that the Myers-Briggs test? And if so, I am the yeah, Myers-Briggs. So I am the mediator. I was INFPA is my type. What kind of base do you have? Love from Portugal, says Tom Bergelt. And the one that I'm using right now is this one. It is a Fender P bass. I got this last summer, but the one that I first started using was just one that Andrew got at a pawn shop for $200. We still have it upstairs, and it was an Epiphone Thunderbird, so not anything super duper fancy, but definitely worked. The only issue for me playing that was it's so big and very heavy, which I love the look of, but the headstock was so heavy that whenever I was just like chilling with it, it would slide down and it would hit the ground if I wasn't wearing like platform shoes or something. So this one's a little bit better for size wise for me. What is your holy grail vintage find? Something that you're on the hunt for currently? I would really love to find something from Granny Takes a Trip, like anything that I could afford. Okay, and that is actually the last one that I think is not like a repeat or something that I feel like I've just answered a lot. So if I skipped over yours, I am sorry. I think that this is going to be really long the way that it is. So I'll try to be condensing it down and editing. Wish me luck. The hot rollers, the consensus is that they worked amazingly, and I am stoked about it. So I hope you all enjoyed this little Q&A. I hope you're all doing well, having a good spring so far. And thank you to everybody who sent me a question, either on YouTube here or on Instagram as well. Appreciate ya. Sending lots of love, and I'll catch you in the next one.